Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for May 12th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We're having a reverse aging health call tonight at around 9 p.m. Eastern. It's interesting when we believe that we know who we are and what we are. In other words, you're communicating with somebody and they make a statement that they know who and what they are. But then the negative frequencies slip in and pull them into a valley of deep despair. And no matter what you say to them, no matter what you say, they always have a rebuttal. That the life isn't worth living. That, I am the God and I can go anywhere and do anything I want. And the problem with that is that if they were connected, if they did know who and what they are, they would not have these low frequencies that pulls them into the valley of despair. They become clouded. They become totally disconnected, which is basically an illusion, but to them. And they feel like it's time to just leave the body prematurely. And the interesting thing about that is that a lot of people don't realize is that when you prematurely, in other words, end your body's existence, suicide, however you want to put it or label it, and you end up out of body, and you really don't know who and what you are like you think you do, okay? Then you're in a trap. See, and people don't realize this. They think they're going to free themselves by ending the body prematurely. So they go out, and they get out of the body, and then they're met, it's like, oh, you know what? What did I do? So that it's a universal, all the universes and all existence, there has to be some form of structure. It can't be reckless abandon. There is a form of structure. So when someone knowingly eliminates their body prematurely, they add a karmic debt, okay? Because you agree to come into a body, you agree to do certain things, all right? When you break that agreement, you have karmic debt. And the life that you just left, you will return to another life. It may not be the one right after, but you will eventually return to a life that's 10 times as more challenging as that life that you ended prematurely. People don't get this. They think that they can run away from things. And the whole problem is that it's within them that they haven't been able to decipher or to unweave, and what their issues are as far as their anger and their pain and their frustration. Now, additionally, if they have a drug dependency or they have an addiction of alcohol, whatever it may be, it will pull them into the lower slimy pits of the lower dark matter frequencies, where all they're thinking about is how rotten their life is and how ridiculous things are on the planet, and they're just going to leave. They're just going to leave, okay? And that they're the God, so they can do whatever they want. Well, that's true to a certain extent. Well, when it comes to an agreement that you make with the one, which is everything, and you breach that agreement knowingly, then you will pay, you will have to clear up your karma. It's the way it works. And it's a good thing. It's structure. See, so many people believe that they're not in structure, that they can do anything. It's like reckless abandon. And this can become very dangerous because usually, years ago I worked on a hotline. And the hotline was, people would call in and talk about them, committing suicide. And all of the stories and all of the things that they believed that there was a reason for it and they just had to do it. In most cases, people who talk about ending their lives prematurely don't. They've either fallen into the bottle or into some other substance abuse, which then pulls them into very low frequency. And in the low frequency, they go into depression, and then they withdraw and look at things from a tainted point of view. They look at things from a tainted point of view. And then when they come out of it, they're kind of sheepish, if you know what I mean. They feel guilty. And the reason they feel guilty is because they really didn't mean to say what they said, but yet in that lower frequency, they couldn't help it. Now, when you look at that, and you look at this wonderful time that we are in, these folks believe that they're in a rotten time and that humanity isn't worth saving and that they're just going to bug out. That's their prerogative. Okay? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that they have no clue what they're getting into. Because then, here's another thing that takes place. See, and I've talked to these spirits, and it's almost every one of them that say, oh, shit. And they're in this void, and they're carrying their bodies. It's an illusion, even though it's an illusion. And they don't know where they're at. They have no clue. It's the darkest of the darkest void. They're just wandering around. What a way, what a way to experience things. And so when they finally come around to it, and they finally come to the conclusion that their, how do you put it, their perspective is so tainted and twisted, it isn't really, it's their manifestation of the emotions that they're experiencing in lower frequency and not knowing how to be in deep gratitude. You can pull yourself out of that any time by concentrating through the heart mind in deep gratitude. And boy, I tell you, it is not easy to get a physical body to incarnate on this planet. It is not easy. There's a lot of us lined up to get into a body. Some of us really don't care, as long as we get into a body. And then when people prematurely end that, they'll find out it isn't that easy to get a body, because they will be drawn back. They'll go over to the other side, the matrix. They'll be seduced into the light. And of course, they don't believe that. See, that won't happen. But they will. Eventually, they'll be seduced into the light, and then they'll go through the whole process again, period. And then they'll look at their life and see what they did and how they did things, and then they'll look at the time where they ended the life prematurely, and then they'll just go, you got to be kidding me, I can't believe I did that. And we're in this, and for many people, right now on this planet, okay, you wouldn't believe that someone who tells you that they know, right, that they know they're the God, and that they are in peace, and they love themselves. So if you love yourself, you're not going to end the body. So they don't love themselves. They have issues, but they've hidden those issues. They've suppressed them. And every now and then, they claim they don't drink anymore. And the next thing you know, they're off the wagon, they're in the bottle, and they're totally shot. All of the things that they said go out the window. And if they were only and stay in deep gratitude, that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't. They have the power to switch it. But see, when you go into these substance abuses, where you go into these deep binges, and you drink 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 and you drink, and then you go into a dark place because your frequencies are so low. Because all it does is it's a depressant, and it causes people to become more depressed, and they feel that it's going to get them out, and they're going to escape. It's an escape. It's a temporary escape, and it really isn't an escape because it's right there, and you'll pay for it for 2 to 3 days afterwards. And these are people that don't trust themselves. They claim they do, okay? They claim they trust themselves. They say all the right words. They put all the right commitments out there, but it's all crap. And the reason it's all crap because there's nothing to trigger. Usually, a family member passing or something, emotionally catastrophic. That will send somebody into a deep depression. Okay. But when you don't have any of that, okay, and you let's just say you've got a pet and yourself, and that's it. And there's nothing really that would instigate a deep fall into the darkness. Because, the irritation that things aren't working the way you want them to work. Your life isn't going the way you want it to go. Everything is, crap in a handbasket. The world is falling apart. Everything's depressing. Now, you stop and view that, watch that, right? As a spectator for a moment. And then you can say, well, wait a minute here. We do all of this to ourselves. There's no hand of God slapping us down, punishing us, torturing us at all. It's us. And all of the calls that I took on the suicide hotline, it's all similar. Okay, it's just similar things. It wasn't all drug dependency. Some of it was just emotional fall. People having too much idle time, not doing anything for themselves, and basically crawling into some type of an artificial escape. And we all know that that's happened throughout this civilization for generations. But there's nothing, and then you can go into with them, and you can start talking about things that are very deep and positive and loving and caring, and they'll negate it. It's like they'll just negate it. They'll put a curtain up, a wall, and no matter what you say, they'll negate it. They'll come up with their own perspective, and with their own perspective, they have no idea that they're doing it to themselves. And since these bodies are temporary, and we have a shot at understanding who and what we are while we're in these bodies, because that's the only time you're ever going to discover who and what you are. So if you don't do it, you will continue to reincarnate into a physical form. It could be 1,000 lifetimes, 10,000 lifetimes, who knows, until you finally get it. And this is why we're so focused on understanding that you are a God in the body. You are not the body. Okay? And this is what's the danger element here, is how powerful you are. And when you don't know who and what you are, you create these events. You create them. No one else does. And so, but you don't realize that. And you could think you're all powerful and all this and all that, but you don't know who you are. And so this continues, this type of attitude. Now, when you look at the bicameral population of this planet, and I've had many conversations with folks that, they say how frustrating it gets to talk with people who they're not on the same page, okay? They're on the same path as all of us, but they're just not on the same page. And they will continue on, leave the body eventually, come into another life, and it may take who knows how many lifetimes. But see, to be aware of it right now in this lifetime is absolutely paramount. It's half of the way there. To say to yourself that I am the God in this body, and not through the ego mind, through the heart mind. I am the God in this body. I'm an omnipotently powerful supreme being. I never die. I am on an endless journey to experience. That's it. I am a master manifester. I am supreme reality. I am the only thing that is real. So, you begin to understand, and you figure, when you take the country Israel, right? Split it up, what do you have? Israel is real. So these are deep things for a lot of people. Some of them skim the surface, some don't. But it is where our ultimate journey is. The material physical world, we've done that, been there so many lifetimes, we've lost track. But the internal world, the God, the presence of the divine, which is you, right? Not your name, not your character, not your personality, not your money, none of it. You are the God, because when you look at all of that, you will leave it behind. All of it. Every single bit of it. You will leave it behind. And you'll never see it again. And that's why attachment and expectation are so dangerous. It is a fine line. It's a balancing act that we all learn, so that we know that. Now, this is interesting. So you love someone, right? You believe you love someone. And with the way the current structure is on this planet, you marry them or you just cohabitate with them. But you're not attached to them. You see? Big difference. When you have attachment and expectation, you suffer. So when you're attached to somebody and they leave the body before you do, you suffer. And some people suffer greatly. Some people end up leaving the body because they can't bear the fact that they are no longer attached to that body. So you got to be very careful, and you have to be very knowing on how to maneuver this life. And it's not like any of us are experts at it, because we throw in so many different avenues, okay? Different twists and turns. And we do that so that we're challenged, so that we don't become bored. That's exactly what happens when if you knew every single thing, if we all knew everything forever before it happened, how long do you think it would take for us to become bored to tears? And when you put attention on it and you contemplate it, you'll know that you say to yourself, I'd be bored to tears if I didn't have these different avenues that I would bring in, unbeknownst to me. And you can't rely on the mind for liberation. We have this amazing infinite universe all around us. And outer space extends far beyond what we can see with any high-tech cosmic telescope. Which can view a star system, several billion light years away. This is an incredible universe, which is also a living, breathing experience that extends infinitely within us. It continues deeper beyond the atomic quantum particles, which are amazing, yet ancient. Electron microscopes can barely see. And when we look inside ourselves on a conscious level, using our mind to explore who we truly are, what we discover is yet another realm of infinity. Inside our mind, there are memories piled upon memories and beliefs within beliefs, all stacked to infinity. For every new thought that is forming right now, there are a dozen new thoughts soon to follow. Just sit down on some lazy Sunday afternoon to spiritually investigate who you really are. And you'll find you can ascend and descend forever within the deepest realms of your very soul. However, one of the most fascinating inside of this infinite mystery is in the relationship that's manifesting between our inner world and the outer world. And actually, the inner world and the outer universe. It behaves something like a perpetual reflection in a mirror. Whatever is happening within our inner world, whatever's happening in our inner world, right in this very now moment, is attracting, magnetizing, and manifesting what we are experiencing in our outer world. So, for example, if I'm in a good mood today, all I see are happy, smiling faces wherever I go. And that's true. Okay? And amazing opportunities seem to effortlessly float my way. But then, if I fall down into an emotional dumpster, the face of every person has nothing but gloom and doom smeared all over it. And it feels like my entire life is about to collapse. The law of attraction is unavoidable. It really is. You cannot escape it. Ever. Whatever we are feeling and feeding into emotionally on the inside is somehow always materializing into whatever we see, whatever we experience, and physically attract in our outer world. Another example of how the infinite reflection is showing up in our lives right now is how it manifests in our relationship with others. The more love, compassion, and acceptance we have for ourselves, the easier it is to have compassion, love, and acceptance for others. Or it's always that one thing which we absolutely dislike and cannot stand about the other, which is reflecting some part inside ourselves that we don't want or care to own or accept. If I'm upset at my neighbor for being too dominating, controlling, and aggressive, instead of having compassion with him or her, then when I take a closer look inside myself, I see how I'm not okay with those parts of myself that feel too dominating, controlling, or aggressive. It's all a deep and yet transparent mirror. Our inner world is an extension of our outer universe. And the outer world is an extension of our inner universe. This means that this life extends into infinity in every direction and dimension. Our inner and outer universes are never separate, even though your physical body appears to be a completely isolated entity. It is not. We live in one sacred golden ocean of energy. There simply is just one universe that extends for infinity into the outer realms in all directions. and inner dimensions. You contain the wet and salty qualities of the entire ocean, and yet are just a single drop in it. The oceanic waves are always moving you and flowing through you as you. He who thinks he is the doer is also the sufferer. Manam Rishi. The essential problem I find most people are having with this life is that they are not reaching deep enough inside themselves to reconnect with their actual living, breathing, infinite spiritual essence. Our spiritual nature is a real thing. It is our most basic reality. It is what keeps your heart beating, your breath breathing, and your life force moving through you in every moment of existence. You do not have to breathe. Your body does it for you. The same is with your spiritual essence. It is living and creating through your physical body, unfolding its essential karmic programming within this great cosmic playground. It is good to know that suffering happens only when the mind gets in the way. When we become overly focused on thoughts and material things that make us feel limited or time-bound, we start believing we only have limited options. The realm of the infinite fades into the background of the finite. And we start thinking everyone is living in a very small, contracted world. When we only focus on our needs, we forget how to connect with the soul of others. If we are always thinking about money and more material possessions, we cannot see or feel the infinite reality that is beneath it all. A majority of the rat race is trapped in thinking about time-bound appointment, which causes consciousness to squeeze itself into a tiny temporal boxes. Let's say 4:30 p.m. With this deadline coming, we just don't have time to feel what eternity is like. When we only live in a limited tick-tock 24-hour clock world that is consumed with resources around money and material items, we instantly start feeling disconnected from the infinite eternal beings we actually are. This addictive dwelling of the mind on what is not infinite or eternal is what makes us feel spiritually disconnected from every living being on the planet today. We were all born with a limited time-bound physical body so that we could acquire a contrasting perspective and experience ourselves as the infinite eternal being we actually are. We have the capability to create, manifest, and experience anything we desire. We are all the children of a great universal consciousness, God, that is impregnated with unlimited potentiality. If all this talk about the infinite is expanding your mind too much to handle today, just remember that your inner world is always impacting and manifesting something in your outer world. Every thought that you believe to be true is what is creating your reality. So, for example, if you allow yourself to become too involved emotionally with all of these shenanigans and all of this silliness and all this asinineness that's happening around you, what do you think will happen? You will manifest, you will create that reality for you. Your thoughts are always flowing through you and are always creating everything in your life. You will become whatever you think in the future. So if you think that the world is doomed and we've had it and it's all over, then that's your future. So be aware of your innermost thoughts and yet somehow remain non-attached. Your thoughts are not who you truly are. You are an eternal, infinite consciousness who is beyond form and time. You are pure awareness, reflecting back on itself in this physical universe of space and time. Let go of thoughts that were cycling in your mind yesterday and ideas about the way life should turn out for you tomorrow. Be here now. Now is the moment of power. Now is where enlightenment is discovered. For physically, you are forever forced to exist in this present moment. Your present awareness is always being generated from this present moment. Know this and live and breathe within this knowing. If you want your life to be smoother, fuller, and more in touch with utter bliss, get in touch with your eternal essence. Let go of any limiting thoughts that you have and drop into the knowingness that you are an infinite soul who will never, ever, ever, ever die. Now, if you crave for some secure life that is easy and light, give that experience to yourself on the inner world within first. Find out how to soothe yourself emotionally, giving deep, robust, tingling sensations to every corner of your body, mind, and spirit. The great experience of divinity is always available and ready to take you into the higher dimensions. Your greatest life is ready for you here and now. So open yourself up. Welcome it in. You will find the infinite within the finite. Trust the process. Breathe in it in and enjoy every breath you are given. Meditation is a listening with a receptive heart. The Enlightened One, Buddha. Meditation is a listening with a receptive heart. You listen when you meditate. You listen. That's all you do. There are as many great truths in our universe as there are stars that exist. Not all truths are created equal. This universe is not just made of black and white colors. It really isn't. But when you look up in the sky, what do you see? You see a black sky, and you see pins of white light. But when you look closer on a clear night, you'll see an entire rainbow of flavors. There is a vast multi-dimensional cosmic playground out there, and inside you as well. And we live in this highly diverse intelligent system. We exist, which contains various degrees of truth. And so not every truth will impact us the exact same way. The bigger a truth is, the more it will expand our reality. And the smaller a truth is, the more it will shrink and contract our experience of this life. The good news is that we don't have to decide what is a big truth and what is a small truth. Our physical body will let us know. For our heart is the best guide for seeing how expansive or contracted a truth actually is. Whenever we discover a larger, more profound truth in life, in this life, a little miracle happens. Everything that once felt hard, heavy, and stuck inside us suddenly becomes exalted and liberated. We feel lighter than air and are filled with a natural, spontaneous joy inside which flows as freely as the wind. The mind stops thinking. We experience our own source of consciousness. From here, we see life from a much more expanded perspective, and it can happen within milliseconds. One of the biggest truths that I've ever uncovered along my path was the first lesson in the Course of Miracles, and it simply states, that which is real cannot be threatened, and that which is unreal does not exist. It took me a bit to spiritually digest this enormous truth into my mind and root it throughout my life. The more I sat with it, the deeper it transformed my entire way of viewing myself, others in this world. That which is real cannot be threatened. So think about this. What is it that feels threatened inside you? What is this personality, self, ego, or the thing you call you, which defends itself when feeling attacked or provoked? What is this little you who has a need to be on guard and protect itself, trying to assert itself and attempting to achieve something important or worthwhile with their life? And then who is this overly strong, confident, all-important you who compensates for the super small, unimportant you? It's the one who has been attempting to make your life secure by feeling self-important, accomplished, met in deep embrace by their beloved, and all the while is feeling a deep and constant separation from God. Now, the good news in all this is that who we truly are has nothing to do with who and what we think we are. Who we truly are has nothing to do with who and what we think we are. Whatever we may think of and conceive of about ourselves with the mind can only be a thought. And this little thought is too small to be who or what we are. Who and what we really are is beyond any spiritual understanding of the mind. In this moment, and only this moment, we can find what is actually real. And this real thing is the only thing that liberates us and binds us at the same time. That which is real, the real you, does not change. And this essence is what remains the same for all eternity. Perhaps the most pivotal, enlightening truth that has been discovered is understanding how all identification with the ego is based in some form of fear. All identification with the ego is based in some form of fear. If we are not experiencing a state of oneness, unity, love, connection, relaxation, and bliss, we are hanging out in some quality or version of fear. The ego is clinging to some thought or a process of thoughts which believes deep down that it is not one with the divine. It thinks it is not loved, accepted, embraced, or enlightened. The more creative you become, the more godly you become. When your creativity comes to a climax, when each moment of your life is filled with creativity, you live in God. Osho. Enlightenment is simply realizing again and again and again how to remain non-identified with one's ego. If you defend yourself, right? It is your ego. I love it when people say, oh, they've got their ego under control. Really? Then why would they get so upset about such simple little things? But to them, they're humongous and huge. That's the ego. The enlightened state is a pure seeing, understanding how the ego is the greatest illusion of them all. To intimately know and become identified with the real self, that which cannot be threatened, is the only true path to total freedom there is. All other paths lead to some form of suffering. It requires no basic standard of ethics, codes of spirituality, or religious background needed to arrive. You simply experience yourself as the essence of consciousness that you naturally are. The ego, who we think we are, right, has some truth to it, yet it's just not a very big truth. It's a smaller truth, which only castrates our ability to expand into love, trust, and a feeling of oneness. Ego is a fear-based program that is based in the opposite experience of trust. Whenever we are living in trust 24 hours a day, we start accessing all the wisdom and knowledge known to all the saints, masters, and enlightened beings throughout existence. We step into the greatest experience of our lives. We find our real true selves and know that we are the real masters of our destiny. When we know our real nature, we can allow life to play its ego personality role through us. And somehow, not get in the way. We can sit back, go with the flow, enjoy the ride. We can remain fascinated by life, learning how we are here to serve others, take care of our body, and simply let the all-intelligent life force move through us. This state of perpetual enjoyment of this life is real mastery. When we remain free from all forms of ego identification, we cannot help but to enjoy all aspects of this life. We allow a greater love to always guide our course and help us live with ease and grace in every way. I'll join you in a meditation, and I'll return to close us out.
Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. It is time to release any mental, emotional, or physical inner wounds you are holding on to, so that you are more open and receptive to the divinity within. And for today, redirect your attention towards the most soft, gentle, loving, healing energy you can imagine. Could be anything. Could be a new puppy, a soft, fuzzy blanket, or receiving a massage from a divine healing master. Whatever you focus on, let yourself soften and welcome the relaxing, healing vibrations all throughout your body. This gentleness will help you heal in more ways than you know. Imagine a soft, healing energy is penetrating every cell in your body throughout this day. Notice how your face changes in the mirror when you are focusing on this healing energy. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, and the following morning. We'll return here tonight at around 9 p.m. Eastern, continue our reverse aging health call, and Saturday, May 13th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with oneself at all times. Be in the deepest, deepest, deepest of eternal gratitude at all times. No matter what's going on outside of you.